Ready to leave your mark on the world? In the final segment of our series, Barbara shares 4 strategies to create content that will get you noticed.
Some of the hosts, the stars that you've coached, we saw that, like, for example, Tyra Banks is now getting ready to host, be the new host of Dancing with the Stars. And you see these celebrities who are now getting these hosting jobs. So how do we compete when we're not famous and we don't have, this big name and we don't look like Tyra Banks?
It is really tricky in terms of, the celebrities. That's the reason why there's so many reboots, because those projects already have familiarity and viewer awareness, which makes me sad because it means there are fewer original ideas. Everybody's just going back to their vault saying, how can we revive what we already have?
You brought it up earlier. Watch what they're doing. Watch what people have done, their journey, and how they've cultivated relationships in order to be able to get in the door. So it was really good.
Great example of that, you just reminded me, is Sarah Haynes. Sarah took one of my very first hosting classes at TVI way back in the day. She was Katie Couric's assistant. She was a PA on the Today Show. She's so delightful and wonderful, but you can really watch her arc, because then she gets to, she's working for Hoda and Kathy Lee, and she was originally their social media person, and she would get to come on and read tweets. That was it, like a little bit thing. Right. But my point is, she was so delightful and charming, but I got to tell you, whatever her real job was, she did a great job at her real job. And so they kept saying, okay, that's great. And then she got to kind of start doing like roving reporter segments and go out in the field. Sean and I've known her forever. So watching her amazing career, everything earned. She's so worked hard. She's so what you see just in terms of such a wonderful person. But I got to tell you, it's because she's always done a good job at the job she was hired for.
Even though you might have this survival job, like I did one for 5 years in finance that I thought was just going to kill me. But it's like learning, what can I take from that job as a host, and every day trying to be cognizant of the lessons I was learning. And in that case, it was how to work a crowd when you're hosting a live event, because a lot of what we did was live events. And so I said, okay, this job might kill me. But ultimately, there's going to come a day I can leave here and I will have learned how to work a crowd.
Okay, is that on your special skills?
You know what? I'm writing it right now, Barbara, because it's not.
That's a thing that, like, again, when I was doing Man versus Food or so many travel shows, things, the ability to say that, like, I'm at ease, like, I can do live and talk to a camera, and the fact that I'm comfortable transitioning from this to that, and I'm okay, because that's a big thing. Do you know, when you're a new host, the idea of having to go do a stand-up in front of a bajillion people is nerve-wracking.
I think you actually helped me realize that gift last year, but I still never really saw it. And that was when we did the pitching seminar last March, when you and Sean came out. And you guys, if you ever get a chance to study with Barbara, I'm not kidding, or if you're able to take some of her coaching or one-on-one, you would learn so much. Or just reading her blog. Barbara, I constantly am just reading your blog. Barbara also has, you guys, a Facebook group that you can join. And you will just begin to glean these nuggets of wisdom. And I feel like it'll be things like what we're talking about right now. We don't even realize that we learned, and then boom, you can do it. And so, Barbara, like all of the resources, I just want to tell people, go to your resources.
I just want to point out, though, too, because we had talked about this off camera a year ago, is not, we all do. We're all guilty of underselling. So that's why it's really important to have a sounding board. But one of your superpowers is what you've created with this group, Shay, and your ability to, like, organize, do whatever it takes. Those are strategic skills that make a difference, and it's propelled you forward. And so that's where you're, being able to articulate that when you're pitching yourself.
Yes, yeah, I think it's that being able to articulate.
This part of what the job takes, but like I am willing to do whatever it takes, and I can do these other things. Anyway, I just think that you're amazing in that respect, and that you don't want to ever take that for granted or even undersell it, because it's really valuable.
I'm learning it. You guys, I don't care what point you're at in this game. It's constantly learning and constantly growing and learning how to pitch yourself. And that is an art and a skill. And Barbara, I don't want to keep you too long, and I know we're running out of time. And so we probably are going to have you back, because I want to focus on that. I get so many questions about that. And pitching to agents. And it's all, so that's like, it's almost like we just need to do, what is the name of the Facebook group? Hosts in LA, you can find it, you guys. But what would you say to our hosts? Because we've all, the world is blowing up before us. What advice would you have for hosts as far as how to manage what we're doing as hosts, and how to also be a voice at this time? Is there anything that's on your heart about that?
one of my things I will always say, and it's one of my messages in my business, is speak to serve. So you always, I just am a big believer in connecting to purpose and your why. I also think right now is such an important time historically where is to not hold back, is to really step into your life and to tap into your voice. And this has been an extraordinary time for so many people I work with. And it's really humbled me, made me understand in ways that I really was not cognizant as a white woman, the pressures and the just cultural blocks for so many of my clients, and people were just every day realizing how voices were dimmed. And now it's just like, hell, I've got a message. I am the message. And so I want everyone to tap into that. You have an important message to share and to go out and share it. And so my only thing is to always do it with integrity and to understand the impact of your words. So it's one thing if you're doing it to connect and to uplift and inspire, and that can be intense, that can be strong, that can be challenging to your point, but it's not nasty, it's not mean-spirited.
I want people to dig deeper, but that's the investigative journalist in me.
I think it's incumbent on every host to be a researcher. What do you add to the conversation? And really quickly, I'll say that there are four basic ways to add to the conversation. One is through humor. And that doesn't mean you have to tell jokes and be ha-ha funny. But if you can find the humor, or you can find something, or the glass half full in a situation, that's great because you've changed, you've added to the narrative. Another way is because you have expertise around a subject. And as hosts, many people would be. You could comment on things and say, you know, even watching these conventions last week and this week, is like many hosts could add to that conversation saying, I understand what would have been happening backstage. This is what's going through someone's mind when they're getting mic'd. There's so many ways to add to that conversation. You're getting people to see what you offer.
Good.
The third way is because you actually have insider information, meaning like you were there. Like I was backstage, or I was at that event, I was at that conference, I was at the protest. I can tell you, like, I was there. So you're adding information that nobody else has. In some ways that's breaking news, but other ways it's really valuable. I can tell. And then the fourth way would be that anybody can do, but it takes a skill, is to connect ideas. Meaning if we're talking about one idea, is to connect it to something else. And sometimes that could be obvious. Sometimes that can be like wildly outlandish and really creative. But that's a way, because now you've moved the conversation into some other new direction. But you're constantly want to add to it. And by the way, that's incumbent on everyone. Like major media clients I work with have the same pressure, because unless you're literally breaking a story, like we got the exclusive, we're breaking the story,
right?
Everybody's talking about the same thing. And so you have to come up with a reason why somebody needs to come to you to talk about that story. What are you adding? And if you're constantly adding value, that's really great. And don't worry about adding value to like bajillions of people. Be effective to like 500 people as opposed to like to 5,000 people.
So good, Barbara. So valuable. Just those four things right there alone. And you guys, like we did say at the beginning, we will have this replay available, because just those four things are so crucial for hosts right now to even get that, because we have so many hosts saying, well, I don't know where to start with creating my content. There you go, right there. Pick one of those that you know you can do, or that you have some insight, because it's very rare that we're going to have number 3, the breaking news. Most of us aren't going to have that. But we probably have one of the other categories that we can jump into. So I love what you're saying there, Barbara, because the creating content, I feel like that's where I'm hearing hosts are getting seen, is in creating their own content.
Always thinking just, but what do I add? And also asking, like, how do you feel about something? How does it make you feel? And tap into your feelings and be honest about your feelings. Which has been really powerful right now, right? Wherever you are, it's like, this is making me feel sad. This is making me feel empowered. I mean, that's the heart of authenticity.
Yeah. And it's been exciting for me, actually, because as a journalist, I just the way I'm wired, I don't tend to stop and think about things after they've happened. I keep moving forward. I'm not a very contemplative, meditative person. I think that's a recipe for depression, actually, a lot of the time. But I had to stop with the pandemic. And I realized, there's a lot of stuff I have done as a host and journalist. I no longer know if it was right or wrong.
Oh, interesting.
For example, I'm just going to say it, being a paid protester. That's how I made money when I didn't have money.
That post that I think that I was like, wow. I was meant to reach out to you, said, like, have you ever thought about writing about that for Medium or some other larger platform?
That's where it's like, you might get death threats. People do not want that kind of voice out there, Barbara. That's what I'm saying. The stuff that's in me, I don't feel like there's been an avenue of it and a way to do it safely.
Okay.
But that one was so, I still don't know if that was right or wrong. And so I said, you guys, I want to put this out there. This is what I did. This is why I did it. I still feel like it was a legitimate way to make money. It's not illegal. Both sides are doing it. I'm not pointing the finger. And I had a woman who, I can't remember the publication, she's the editor of it. She said, Shay, that means whoever has the most money controls the optics.
That's right.
And I said, well, that's part of the game, though.
That's interesting. I mean, you're doing what you have to do to survive, but that is, yes, we know money. But that's also not new. That's like forever.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we do in Hollywood all the time. This is always so much fun with you. We only have 5 minutes left, and I want to get on a quote that you said as well. Playing it safe is a dangerous strategy. And I saw that when I was doing just a little bit of research. What do you mean by that?
That's exactly what we were talking about earlier. It's about being playing it safe. It feels good in the moment, and this is for all of us in life. That's the notion of like why we all constantly need to challenge ourselves and take risks, because there's no growth in playing it safe. And playing it safe is just gets you. You're just you're in the messy middle. You're just one of the same. If your goal is to feel comfortable and be like, I tried, but I didn't get anywhere because I played it safe, you could win. But my point is, there's no, it's not a winning strategy, and it's actually a quite unsafe approach, because it doesn't help you, because you have to take risks to grow. You can, take smart, calculated risks. And we also start with baby steps, right? Take a little risk and realize, oh my God, I survived that. So maybe I can take a slightly bigger risk, right? And you think about and you weigh your pros and your cons, and you understand who you're talking to. But yes, playing it safe is an unsafe strategy.
Mm-hmm. And for anyone who has dipped their toe in this hosting world, that is a risk. So you should applaud yourself, even if you are just starting out, even if you're just doing a 15-second IG to your story, that's a risk. Anytime you put yourself out there, it's a risk. So I just want to applaud everybody who's part of this group as well.
And I actually want, once I started creating my own videos, it really gave me so much empathy for everyone I work with. But I do want to go back to that. There is also, other famous quotes about, no executive I've ever worked with in a meeting said, let's go find the safe one. Who's the safest choice out there? I mean, I'm sure it must happen occasionally, but it really doesn't. It's always about like who's the best, or who's going to move us forward, or who represents the brand the best, who's going to connect the best. But no one ever says, who's the safest person we could find? And nobody ever says, wow, Shay, what do you want to watch tonight? Let's go look for a safe choice on television. To that same point, and the big thing I talk about all the time is nobody shows up for your perfection. So let go of that. You can be, you don't have to be perfect to be amazing. I'm not, no, I didn't turn on the TV saying, wow, I really want to watch somebody be perfect tonight.
Barbara, that is just so important. I do want to ask a question or two here from Tina Olaf says, how would you suggest starting, if you're just starting during this pandemic, with a career? Which you touched on a little bit. She said she's taking some classes. Now it's time to do. This is a hard time. Is there any way to move a career forward other than, the learning work, doing at home, the watching of things? And I'm going to give you just 30 seconds if you have anything that comes to mind on that for our very, very newbies.
Work on your skills every day. So that means you're hopping on camera every day. Think about stamina. Think about the hard skills you do need. So like, prompter, breaking down a script, doing stand-ups, transitions, interviewing people. So like that right now, you can constantly be working on your hard skills. You can do all that virtually and by yourself. But at the same time, think about what are all the soft skills? What's your marketing? Do you have, is your headshot together? How tight is your resume? Do you have a website? Is your social going? How do you stand out? What are your current strengths? And realizing you're going to evolve. But how if I said to you, why should we hire you? What's your answer? Do you know what I mean? Like, so those are the things that you're preparing. And your answer should never be because I could do the job. Because that is we expect that. We're like, what do you bring to the party?
Barbara, IG Live is going to kick us off in less than 30 seconds. I know, this went so fast, didn't it? I'm like, wait, I have a whole list of questions people sent in as well. You guys, I'm so sorry that the time goes so fast. Barbara, we love having you. We so appreciate you taking your time tonight from New York to do this. God bless your move, and we will definitely look forward to the time that we can get you back on, and once you're maybe settled in your new place. Thank you guys, everybody who's joined. Yes. Can you see all the hearts, Barbara, and all the thank yous from everybday. You guys give her a shout out.
I'm Shay Holland. If you missed parts 1 and 2 of this interview, find them on YouTube. And follow us on Instagram for more great content at Host in LA.